So fair warning before you try to build this deck, from my experience, this art type isn't exactly the greatest. It's certainly not the worst art type around, and it's definitely good enough to reach King of Games, but then again, so is Ojama if you're willing to put in enough effort. Basically what I'm trying to say is, this art type's a little bit mid, at least in comparison to some of the other decks I've built recently. Basically, my only real problems with this art type is if people sort of know how the game works and know how to read, this deck all of a sudden sort of falls flat rather quickly. It's sort of based around a trap card that is technically immune to destruction, unless they chain the destruction when you activate the trap card, which then it just goes pop. So once people kind of know how this deck works, you've got a trap card that is very flimsy, and you've got an archetype that is countered by a singular, very popular Link 3. With all that being said though, if you don't mind this archetype not necessarily being the most competitive thing ever, but you still want to play an archetype that makes most of your opponents consider taking a nice hot bath whilst trying to cook some toast, this archetype is probably going to be for you. So here's today's deck list. Now just a reminder before I get to the deck list, if you're enjoying today's video and want to see more content just like this in the future, especially if you're a returning viewer, as apparently about 50% of you watching this are not even subscribed to the channel, then all of you return viewers who have seen my content before. So you find yourself keep coming back to the channel and see more content just like this in the future, remember to leave a like on this video and consider subscribing to the channel down below. Alright, let's get to this deck list. So the goal of this deck list is quite simple. You basically want to get a hold of Infinite Light, and you want to resolve this card as soon as you possibly can, as upon doing so, you'll be summoning out 3 gigantic Time Lords to your field, all of which become immune to targeting effects, which is a really powerful thing to have on a bunch of cards that are already immune to destruction. On top of that, the trap card is itself immune to destruction, and it stops all your Time Lords shuffling themselves back into the deck list, so you'll probably have permanently 2 4,000 attack monsters on the field, and a Time Lord of your choice. It's pretty damn insane. Now the challenging part about this is because this trap card has such a powerful effect, its requirement to activate is quite hefty, because to use this card, you have to send a copy of Infinite Machine to the graveyard, which is another continuous trap, which to activate this card, you have to send an empty machine from your spell and trap card zone to the graveyard, which, as you'll notice, isn't in this deck list, but it's another continuous trap. But thankfully, we have a skill that makes this a lot easier. This skill has 2 effects, one of which is extremely prominent and you're going to be using every single game, and the other one, it's something I'm not even going to go through in this video because, well, in my particular deck list, you're basically never going to resolve it, but feel free to read it for yourself. All that matters for this skill is the first effect. Send 1 card from your hand to the graveyard, and then set 1 empty machine to your field from outside your deck, which is of course this trap card, and because it's being set via your skill, you're able to activate it immediately. This trap card is the first stage of your continuous traps. Basically, it has 2 effects, but you can only use 1 per turn. Discard 1 level 10 monster to draw 1 card. If this card is the only card in your spell and trap card zone, target 1 Time Lord monster in your graveyard, shuffle it into the deck, then set 1 Infinite Machine directly from your hand or deck. Now keep in mind, your skill discarded a card to get this thing on the field, so you've probably discarded a Time Lord, so you can use this effect immediately to get into your second stage. Infinite Machine is your second stage, and is activated by sending 1 face-up empty machine from your spell and trap card zone to the graveyard, and again has 2 effects, but again can only use 1 per turn. During the main phase, you can special summon 1 Time Lord monster from your hand. You can target 1 Time Lord monster in your graveyard, shuffle it into the deck, then set 1 Infinite Light directly from your hand or deck. So if all goes well, you'll get a hold of your big trap card by the time the turn passes back to you, so you only have to survive 1 turn with this deck list, and you'll get to your win condition. Now let's talk about your Time Lords themselves, as there is a whole bunch of them in this deck list. So each of your Time Lords, like I mentioned earlier, are all immune to destruction effects. That includes battle, and obviously card effect as well. They're also immune to taking any kind of battle damage, so your opponent can't swing into these 0 attack boys and actually deal damage to you. So these cards make for excellent shields that stop your opponent getting through to your life points. The big downside of these cards though, is that during your standby phase, they shuffle themselves back into your deck list. So in most cases, unless you're summoning them via your big trap card, you're going to summon them for a turn, then during your standby phase after your opponent's turn, they're going to go back into your deck list, and you're going to have to summon something else. Each of your Time Lords has a different effect that will resolve at the end of the battle phase if they were in a battle. This one will return monsters on the field back to hand, this one will shuffle spell and trap cards back into the deck, this one will inflict 1000 damage, this one will deal damage to your opponent based on the monster it battled, and this one will halve your opponent's life points. Then we have your Time Maiden, which is a card that is basically going to be your search for the deck list. This card can special summon itself to the field if you have no monsters, and when it's on the field you can tribute it to search for any of your Time Lords from your deck list, other than of course your big 4000 attack dude, or your Zaphion, which by the way is only in here because it's going to be a beat stick, summonable off of your trap card, otherwise just ignore this thing, it's just here for show. Also, this card has a nice little bonus effect where when it's in the graveyard, except on the turn you special summon a monster, so not on the turn you summon this thing, you can banish it from the graveyard to summon out any of your 0 attack Time Lords straight from the deck list, so pretty damn crazy card. Alright guys, that's going to do it for the deck list portion of this video. The only thing left to talk about is why the hell I'm running only 1 copy of Book of Moon, and that's because I only own 2 copies of Ring and only 2 copies of Ice Dragon's Prison, otherwise I'd probably be playing 3 of either of them, or even playing Compulse, which is another card I don't own, so this is basically just a substitute. Redestruction is actually pretty damn good in this deck list because of all the burn damage you do. It means a lot of the time you can actually do lethal damage if you burn them with this, and then burn them with one of your Time Lords. That's basically why I'm using it, but it can also backfire a little bit considering if your opponent's life points are quite low, you won't even be able to activate your Redestruction, so feel free to replace this with 3 Book of Moon if you like, or play 3 Compulse, it's just sort of up to you. So without further ado, let's get into some gameplay. Alright, so today I have 5 replays to share with you guys, most of which were actually against Phantom Knight. This decklist I had such a weird experience with. This decklist was really good against like Phantom Knight, but absolutely awful against Dark Magician, which is really weird to say considering it's obviously meant to be the other way around, since Phantom Knight's like one of the best decks in the game and Dark Magician is sort of very, very mid. But I don't know, this deck has some weird matchups just because of how it works, because most of your cards are immune to destruction, so if you're against a deck that relies on destruction effects, then all of a sudden you're kind of good? I don't know, it's a bit of a weird deck. Alright, so activating our skill is sending a copy of a Time Lord to the graveyard so we can get our empty machine on the field. Use this effect, shuffle the Time Lord we discarded to get a hold of your next trap card to use on your opponent's turn. Set 1, activate a Time Lord so our opponent can't hit us in the face, and pass. We can activate our empty machine to discard a Time Lord so then we can use this card whenever we like. Keep in mind, it's generally good to save your infinite machine until your opponent tries to target it for destruction. Because of course, like I said during the start of the video, if your opponent chains an MST to the activation of your infinite machine, it will go pop. But if they chain it, if they try to target it, then you use this in response, it will protect itself, because it is technically immune to destruction once per turn, but only after it's actually been resolved and it's on the field. Alright. Our opponent Book of Moons us, because then of course he can actually get through to us if he pops this card. But thankfully we have Ring of Destruction here, so we're just going to wait till our opponent summons something important and pop it. Not going to pop this card here because we know he has this thing here, so he can get out another dude on the field whenever he likes. Summons out his Breaksword. Pops my Time Lord. I'm going to try to go to lethal here. But as soon as he summons out his Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon, that's the card we're going to get rid of. So before he can use his skills to make this thing have the 0 materials and use his quick play spell and all that crap, we're just going to pop this card. And it's gone. Alright. Sending some stuff, and I believe he's able to summon out another monster as well. I don't know if he does it or not. Yep, summons out another monster. Now, technically, I could have activated my Infinite Machine here to summon this Time Lord to the field to protect myself, but its effects are only once per turn, so I don't want to... it can only use one of its effects per turn, so I don't want to use this effect because I want to use its second effect. So in the end phase, I'm going to summon this card to the field by shuffling this into the graveyard, getting a hold of my Infinite Light, and we've now got our win condition activated. Activate it, summoning out a card that has actually an insane animation until the end. Looks awesome, it's insane, and then it's ruined. One thing I don't understand is, right, this game's filled with these, like, you know, anime faces. But this dude's face, it's, like, almost realistic. It's like, why? What? Anyway, summoned out 2 4000 monsters that are both untargetable and are both immune to destruction, so, yeah, good luck, opponent. Is this card even immune to destruction? I don't even know. This card isn't even immune to destruction. Oh damn, this card is literally just a 4000 attack beat stick. Alright. Is this card really not immune to destruction? I didn't even notice that. I played quite a lot of this deck list. Huh. It's literally just a beat stick. It is a beat stick that can special summon big dudes from hand though, I guess. Alright. So this one is actually also another Phantom Knight player. Also, you notice I went first in a lot of these replays. Yeah, just kind of how the day went. Do you want to know what this deck list is like going second? I assume it's mostly the same, just a little bit worse. It's, yeah. Like I said, don't go playing this deck list thing. It's going to be the most competitive thing ever, so even if I do show you a bunch of going first replays today, I'm already trying to warn you, don't play this deck list unless you're playing for fun, or playing for the niche of it. Alright. So opponent normal summons a monster. This time he has got nothing in the graveyard for follow-up, so I know I can just get rid of this card and he won't be able to play for the rest of the turn. Alright. Setting 3 and passing. He summons a monster. I'm going to Ice Dragon's Prison, of course. Activate my Infinite Light. Oh, God. And there it is. By the way, if you're wondering why I only summoned one of these, it's because I accidentally clicked no. A little bit awkward. But we beat over him anyway. Right. What even happened in this game? Anyway. On to replay number 3. Alright. So this one actually wasn't a Phantom Knight player. Big shock. Alright, so this guy was playing a bunch of weird plant stuff, I think, if I recall correctly. Yeah. Alright, this is the first time you're going to see 1-for-1 from me too. So this card's pretty good in this deck list because you can discard a Timelord, letting you use your trap card whenever you like, and it also gives you a search for your, any Timelord you like, because it gets a hold of Time Maiden. Alright, summons these Black Crows, gets a hold of a Rose Fairy. I just like a little bit annoying here by summoning a card I haven't seen in forever. I thought he was going to go into Black Crows here, which is completely fine. But instead he goes into Samurai Destroyer, which is a card that negates the monster it swings into. So if he's able to go, like, extend any further here, I might have actually just died. Or at least had to have summoned something from my hand to protect myself and not being able to go into this play during his end phase. Alright, Infinite Light summoning all the dudes to the field. Look how sick this animation is. I just can't believe they ruined it by adding that little bit at the end. I get it's probably some sort of like anime related thing, but it's, God, his face is so gross. Alright, summon all the dudes to the field. All untargetable, and they're all just going to swing into my opponent. He tries to compulse, my stuff's immune. Unfortunately, this card doesn't actually do battle damage, so a bit rough. Do at least get some burn damage off though. Activates a skill I've never seen before and still don't know what it does even after reading it. And my opponent concedes. Alright. Next up we have Kratos. Which I think is a return to the Phantom Knights again. Yep. This was actually a rank up game too. Alright. So once again going first, because we're lucky as. Skipping this part because he has a Sandal now. And passing it over. So I don't think we have any back row this time, outside the trap cards, the continuouses. So our opponent can just sort of play the game as much as he likes. Which is going to look really weird, because this guy's essentially just going to get out his full Phantom Knight board, and not be able to do anything. Because they can't actually deal with Time Lords very easily. He's going to activate his effect to destroy a card on the field, but we're going to activate this thing in response to it, so it's going to protect itself. Alright. Summoning some dudes. Gets out his full combo, going into his Dark Rebellion. God, this deck has some weird matchups. The fact it's so good into particularly Phantom Knight and maybe some other deck lists is just odd. It's like, entirely matchup dependent, or dependent if your opponent actually plays like Cosmics or MST or Knightmare Unicorn. Alright. Gonna activate his effect, swap this dude over. Bring out Dark Requiem, which then does a total of nothing because it can't do anything. So during his end phase, gonna summon nothing to the field and pass the turn. This thing will shuffle itself back into the deck. And now we can summon out all our boys to the field. Alright, I've had enough of this animation. Alright, summoning all the dudes. Didn't actually have one in the graveyard to summon here, but that's alright. And our opponent is conceded. Alright, good job, Mr. Kratos. Alright, final replay. Alright. This was a mirror match. A mirror match, but I got to go first again, as per usual. Only the skilled players could win the coin toss. That's how it goes, right? Alright. Empty machines, shuffling back into the deck, getting our dude. You know how it goes. And passing over. Opponent swings in. He's going to do a bit of damage to me, but I don't really care too much because he's a very, very slow deck, and my deck is quite happy with my opponent being slow. Alright, summoning out my 3 dudes. All untargetable, so it's unlikely my opponent has any back row to deal with this. Unfortunately, again, none in the graveyard, so... Oh yeah, he Wall of D's me, so technically does a... one of the more useful trap cards he could have used. But then he tries to swing in with his Michion here into my monster. If he swung into this one, he would have been fine, but he for some reason swung into the one that, He's literally playing the same deck list as me, or the same sort of archetype. How does he not know what happens if he does this? Well, then he just burns himself for 1,000. Or maybe he wanted to end it, I have no idea. Maybe he had a toaster bar situation. Alright guys, that's it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, hope to see you guys in the next one. Laters.
Hey, big brother, can I watch SpongeBob? Shut up, Mokuba. I'm busy flagging YouTube videos to compensate for the fact that I have an extremely small penis. Oh.